This is pretty cool. All right. So this is Coaching for Coaches. My name is Phil, DJ Right Click Valentine, DJ for my awesome taste in music, Right Click because of my Appalachian Trail name, Valentine because that was the old English surname given to me. I didn't really have a choice about that. On December 28th, just a few weeks ago, I celebrated 35 years of recovery. That's kind of a big number. I still feel like a 17-year-old in a lot of ways. And if you've listened to my conversations lately, like at Breakfast with Phil this morning, right, Katrina, don't tell him too much, but I still act like a 17-year-old in a lot of ways too, so it's good to be young. 35 years went by. I can't tell if it went by quickly, went by slowly, but when you start to think about all the things that have happened to me in all that time, really, really blessed. Like my sister Robin was talking about,
yeah.
grace and all the blessings that I've received because of recovery. A couple of days ago, the 21st, a few days ago, I celebrated 24 years here at CCAR. Executive director for about 19, 20 of those, so I'm getting long in the tooth, long in the goatee. Oh my goodness. And my lovely bride, Sandy, showed up. My heart is full now. Hi, Sandy. You just want me to leave you alone and not point you out at all?
No, I don't mind that, but I may have to pop out of my seat for a minute. So don't be distracted by that.
All right. I hear you. So, Leda, I'm not quite sure why you keep sharing your screen, but I don't know what that's up with. Where's my producer? Michael, what are we doing with it? You're all set. You got it. All right. I gotcha. So we're doing recovery coach performance support, and I will say this first and foremost. Robin mentioned art, but this was a saying I got from art, and I say it all the time. We teach best what we most need to learn, right? And so this topic is really something I'm very curious about. I've learned so much in my 3 or 4 visits to the centers already. So here's what I want to do. We have a few people in the room today. We're really glad, like 27 participants. Whoa, that's cool. So we want to go rapid fire, but I want you to introduce yourself, where you're from, just where you're sitting. That would be kind of cool to know where everybody's from. And I want you to briefly describe a time somebody told you the truth. And so my story is, I already introduced myself, and my story was I had to be about 3.5 years in recovery. I was going through a divorce, and I was at an AA meeting, and I was waxing eloquent about my soon-to-be ex-wife and how I was being wronged and how wonderfully I was handling the situation and patting myself on the back and righteous anger and all this kind of stuff. So after the end of the meeting, we said the Lord's Prayer, and this guy came walking over to me, this big, bald, intimidating dude. And I thought he was going to wow, that was a great share. Thank you for sharing. You impacted my life so much. And he stuck his big old finger right in my face. And with a lot of anger, he said, "You can get bitter or you can get better. The choice is yours." And he walked away. And I was furious, but he told me the truth. Oh, by the way, he's been my sponsor now for the last 32 years. So a lot of you guys can relate to that too. So I didn't stay that angry for that long. Although I'm not quite sure about Sandy. She still gets a little irritated by him. See, she nods her head, yes. So that's my story. I don't know if we can get to anybody, but I would like some people to, if you don't want to share a story, it's okay. But let's hear from a bunch of you, if not all of you, about where you're from, your name, where you're from, and a brief story about when somebody told you the truth. Is everybody clear on what I'm asking you to do? Okay. Miss Sandy, you're good.
So Sandy Valentine, I am currently in Stores, Connecticut, at University of Connecticut, but about to make a leap to become the executive director of Ride Cares in Providence, Rhode Island. Thank you, Michelle. And I just wanted to jump in quickly because my story ties off of Phil's story. That same gentleman told me that it was ridiculous that I would be in a relationship with Phil in my first year of recovery. And so I've held on to that resentment and this relationship now for over 31 years, just because I don't want him to be right. So I just thought I'd pass that on.
I'm not sure what to think about that, but anyway, thank you, Sandy. Girlies.
Hi, y'all. My name is Khalees. I am in Lincolnshire, England. A time somebody told me the truth. I'll never forget. I was like a year in recovery, and I had called my sponsor in Texas because I had a sponsor in Texas still, and I was complaining about my mom, of course, something she had done, riled up, and my sponsor just said, "You ungrateful piece of shit." Like, you do you not realize everything your family has done for you, like everything she has done. And I just was like, first of all, like, who do you think you are to tell me that? But then, like, I'll never forget that moment. And like, I think it's times whenever things get hard that I'm like, wow, how grateful am I? Just gratitude, because I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Thank you, Khalees. Nate.
Hey, I'm Nate Rush in Indianapolis, Indiana. Been clean for Phil. I just celebrated 31, so
Yes.
getting long in the tooth. Been with you guys for a long time as well. So so the last time someone told me the truth was my used to be sponsored, and what it was, I had some illness. I'll try to make this quick. I was in a real serious, had some real serious illnesses going on where I was paralyzed. I was cognitively impaired. I had all this was going on for a 4-year period. And then I started getting better, and things started getting, like right now I'm walking, I drive, where I couldn't even walk in one moment. And so my previous sponsor, it was too much for him. He said, "Man, you are a hazard to my health." And I didn't understand it in that moment, but this was about 2 or 3 months ago, and it hurt because he and I have been together for like 26 years. He had been my sponsor. That was the truth that I'm coming to more and more acceptance with it. I like to say that I'm all there, but I'm getting there. But that was a painful truth that I'm still grappling with. Oh, by the way, I have another sponsor. So to me, you got to have a sponsor in the process. So that's all I got.
The one that's on the community health rotation that was MDI this time.
Okay, thank you, Nate. No, I found her.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate that. I'm glad you're walking and talking. We need you. Rufus.
Hey guys, I'm Rufus. I'm coming from London, UK. Yeah. The biggest truth that someone once told me was actually in an AA meeting. At this point, I was like constantly relapsing, revolving door, all that stuff. And he came up to me in the meeting and he said, "The penny will drop." And he was right. I've now got 4 years clean. So he was right.
I love it. Thank you, Rufus. Robin.
Yes, I was thinking about a time early in recovery when my father was still living, and maybe had a year in recovery, and I needed a car, and my dad went and brought me a car, and he brought me his Jeep. Now I'm a sedan girl, okay, and because I'm a daddy's little girl and I was raised with both my parents, a lot of people in recovery, and I had a better than attitude. They looked at me like I was a little sidewise. So it took this one woman who I was afraid of, and she was a big, monstrous like woman. and I was complaining about my dad brought me a Jeep, and I didn't want a Jeep, this ugly Jeep. She said, B, what the F wrong with you? Do you
Mhm,
know how many people would die to have a father buy them anything?
mhm,
And I thought about that, and she said, anything. I'm like, she said, if you don't want the MFN car, give it to me. Well, I
mhm.
didn't have transportation, so I couldn't just give it to her. But it made me think, like, dang, how selfish and self-centered it was. And she said this, and I'll shut up. She said, you know, you think being spoiled is cute. She said, but think about that. When an apple is spoiled rotten, we throw it away.
Mhm.
You just need to be thrown away right about now.
Wow.
Reality check. Okay.
Yeah. Robin, where are you?
Oh, I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, sitting in my kitchen right now, not in my office.
Gotcha. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Pennsylvania in the house. Tori.
Thank you, Phil.
Mhm,
I am currently at Portland Recovery Community Center in Portland, Maine. I work their Maine Department of Corrections program as a recovery program coordinator. One of the most recent truths that was told to me was by a parent, my parent. For years, I've been telling people that I've had my drug use was in secret,
mhm,
and I am 7 years recovered. But my dad had stated to me that for all those years that I thought that I was using in private, he in fact knew as well as other people. But that's, that's one of those lies that we tell ourselves, I guess. And
mhm,
so that was kind of a brutal truth for me.
mhm.
That was a heavy hitter for me. But I thank you for asking.
Thank you. Rodney, how are you?
You hear me? I'm
How-
fine. Okay. I'm
Mhm,
from Baltimore, Maryland. My name is Rodney Green. And one of a brutal or a jaw-dropping truth that somebody gave me was my sponsor. I was on disability for a long time in recovery. And Social Security Administration took my benefits. And because I owned a couple of houses, and they said that was I was no longer eligible to receive
mhm,
benefits. And I got really, really upset. And I called my sponsor to throw up on him, and he listened, and he said, okay. And then one of the things that they asked me to do was to pay back the money, some of the money. So it was like $30,000.
Good morning.
And I was like,
Thank you.
I'm not paying back no $30,000. And he said, Rodney, you're responsible, right? I said, yeah, I'm responsible. He said, you pay your bills? I said, absolutely, I pay my bills. He said, if somebody lends you $30,000, you pay him back? I said, yes. He said, well, consider somebody lends you $30,000 and pay the money back. So I did it. And that was a jaw-dropping revelation for me.
Wow. Thank you, Rodney. If you're not on speaking, if you could mute your mic, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Neetha, how are you?
I am great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Well enough.
Excellent. Yeah. So I'm Nika. I am in Lincolnshire, England, in a garden shed converted to an office that's freezing cold tonight. And I just have to say, Rufus, you get the A+ for amazing pre-work for Recovery Coach Academy. This guy did some stonking amount of work. So my moment was when somebody said to me, stop setting boundaries that you can't live with all the outcomes and you only want the good ones. And I was like, ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting with, when I couldn't live with all the outcomes, I broke the boundaries.
Thank you. Michelle.
My name is Michelle Harder, and I am in Burrillville, Burrillville, Rhode Island, where it's starting to snow. Yeah. So my time when someone told me the truth was quite a while ago.
in shortly after my dad had passed away. And I would go to my home group every week and I would talk about how sad I was about my dad dying. And I didn't realize that it had been going on for like every week for months. And a guy that sat next to me, who's since passed away, spoke up after I did, and he said, "Hey, I don't come here to listen to sadness every single week. I want to be happy in my recovery." And he said it in the meeting in front of everybody, and I was mortified. So I called my sponsor, whose husband happened to answer the phone and who was at the same meeting. And I started to say, "How dare he?" And he said, "He's absolutely right. So now you need to move on. If you want to talk about it, you can talk about it, but not in the meeting anymore." It's been 3 months. And so I didn't. And I utilized my sponsor more. And when my mom recently died, I talked about it once or twice and utilized my sponsor more. So great life lesson.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Jennifer from Massachusetts. And thank you, Michael, for sending me the message. I appreciate that, absolutely, to jump onto this call. So I'm happy to see everybody. And my epiphany, for lack of better words, was I was introduced to recovery through the court system when I was 14 years old. And in 2000, so that was in 1984. And in 2005, I went into a treatment facility, and after a group basically was telling the director of the program that she shouldn't let this person go home on a weekend pass because she just admitted in group she's going to use, and we have to keep her safe and it's our responsibility. And the director said, "Jennifer, look around you. Jails, institutions, and death. It doesn't get any better than that." Like, I was in an institution is what she was trying to tell me. Basically that, like, I don't know better than her, and she, you know, and I thought I knew better than her. So she kind of put me in my tracks to kind of stop and take a look, to kind of, you know, try to stay in my own lane, which didn't happen till later on. But nevertheless, I did learn that lesson.
Thank you, Jennifer. Katrina.
Hi, I'm Katrina. I'm here at the CCAR office in Hartford, Connecticut. A time where somebody told me a truth I needed to hear was in early recovery. I was so consumed with anxiety of people not liking me. So I would get really upset if someone didn't like me. And I had a counselor tell me, what people think about me is none of my business, but people's thought process about me is not my thought process. And that kind of opened up my world of minding my own business and, you know, staying true to myself. And if I like myself, that's okay. So that was a truth I needed to hear at that time. Thank you.
Thanks, Katrina. So, okay, Cindy. Got to unmute.
Hi there, I'm Cindy Shaw. Grateful to be here this afternoon from New Canaan, Connecticut, down at the Lighthouse. A truth that came to me was actually from a CCAR recovery coach as I finished the Recovery Coach Academy. And I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. I don't know if I can do this. And I had such self-doubt and such fear. And she looked at me and said, "You were meant to do this work. Get off your ass and get going."
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of you can guess who might have said that to me. And and that was, it changed my life. It did.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you. Anybody else? We have quite a few other people. Well, I'm just going to cruise through a few because I want a few more times when people told us the truth. So, Rich, you're next on the list. You know, you want to play. There you go.
What were you going to say? Do I want to what?
Nothing. I wasn't going to say anything.
No. So I'm Rich Welsh from I live in Windsor Locks, but I'm working at Hartford CCAR for the Department of Corrections program. The moment of truth for me, I guess I had to say when my oldest son told me that he doesn't want nothing to do with me. It was, yeah, it says oomph, but it was the most eye-opening moment for me that I could actually accept the fact that that's where we were at this moment in life. So so it wasn't a continued trial and error due to, my own absence in his life. That was his choice. So I had to respect his choice, so that's the honest someone's ever really been with me brutally, but
Thank you. Appreciate that.
no problem.
Adam Brown Stoke. You got anything, Mr. Adam Brown Stoke?
I've always got something. Yeah, I'm Adam Brown from Stoke in UK. I've just celebrated 3 years recovery. The truth, the best truth I've ever heard is the one that saved my life. I was trying to get sober for many years, and I was trying to do it on my own using all these mad therapies and things like that. And I get periods of sobriety, so I thought I could do it. And my wife just sat me down and said, "You need to go to rehab, or you need to get help." And I wouldn't accept that. And I think that this is actually 3 years before I went to rehab. So it took 3 years for that to sink in. But that piece of advice saved my life, because I nearly died the day I went in rehab. So if I hadn't listened to it and then gone in, I would have been dead. So yeah, that's one truth that I needed to hear, and it definitely did me some good. So I'm very glad she said it, and I listened eventually. But here I am today, thank God. Thank you.
Thank you. B. Rob, you're next on the list.
How did I know? I'm sitting, so it's a little noisy. It's a little noisy here. So, but my name's Brian Robbins. I am the program manager for CCAR, so I oversee all the recovery community centers. I'm actually sitting in one of our centers right now as we speak in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So I was thinking, and I wasn't going to tell the same story that I told last time, but I think that one that really hit hard was early and active addiction, and out on working with a probation officer, and having a conversation about if I wasn't willing to change my ways, that if nothing changes, and I would continue to cycle in and out of prison when I was caught up in trying to blame everybody else why things were the way they were, not taking any responsibility for myself. So that's a short version.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Brian McManus.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian McManus, and I'm actually 2 offices down from Brian Robbins at our Bridgeport Recovery Community Center. I am the program manager for CCAR's Department of Corrections program and jail diversion program. And like Brian, I did this a few weeks ago here in Bridgeport with Phil, and I was thinking about a different story, and there was, and not telling the same story I told the last time. And for me, I was thinking about at one point, very early in my recovery, I was sitting in the psychiatric ward at Bridgeport Hospital. And the psychiatrist came in, and my wife and I were sitting there, and she gave me a diagnosis of a mental health disorder. And I looked at her and said, "Does that mean I'm not an alcoholic?" And she looked at me and went, "No, you're still an alcoholic." So I think I'm one of the few people who was excited to get a mental health diagnosis, because I thought it got me out of being an alcoholic. But no, the truth was yes, indeed you are. So that was someone just really not sugarcoating it and giving me the truth.
Thank you. Anybody else care to raise their hand, introduce themselves, say where they're from, and a time somebody told you the truth? Anybody else? All right. Oh, Marcus, thank you.
Good afternoon, folks, and to everybody over at the pond and everybody at the C-Car program. My name is Marcus Griffin. Back in '86, I was institutionalized, and a clinician came to me and told me that you have something that's going to help people in the near future. I didn't believe it, but by the grace of God, I have 30 years clean because of the fellowship. I do H&I, go inside of the prison over the years and still doing it, public information. And at the same time, the woman that told me that is still living. She's in her 80s and she believed in me. And I'm hoping one day one of these programs will believe in me. But I thank God for that woman because she played a part in my life because I didn't think I was going to be here. But I'm here in 2023.
Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate you. Anybody else? Deborah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deborah Ewells. I work for the Alliance for Positive Change. I'm located in Manhattan, New York. And a hard truth somebody told me about me, that it wasn't always about me. It ain't all about me. And I just would like to comment that when I took recovery coach training for the first time, I think my head blew up because it gave me another perspective on how people could possibly enter recovery. People are in recovery when they say they are, right? And just because my recovery is based on a mutual aid group, just because my recovery is based in the idea of abstinence, that doesn't work for the whole world. Right. And so I mean, I was messed up the whole week. I was like, oh my God, a lapse? Like it challenged all my perceptions of what I thought recovery was supposed to be. And so I appreciate that. And I just want to say, I appreciate your film on Thursdays. I think that shit is so funny. I just giggle so loud, you know. You're a funny guy. You could have been a comedian. But so I just appreciate that. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Deborah. A lot of people are moaning because they expect a dad joke to come out next, but yeah, no. I shall refrain. Anybody else? Michael Serrano, you got a moment when somebody told you the truth?
Yeah. Plenty of time. Well, my name is Michael Serrano, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm in Hartford, Connecticut right now. And I would say it was like a month before I got in recovery. I weighed about 118 pounds and I didn't look good. And one of my cousins who I used to hang out with him a lot when I was a teenager. He saw me for the first time in a long time. And he was like, yo, you look like shit like that. And I was like, and I really I took the time to look in the mirror really, because I really didn't really look in the mirror. You know? And I saw myself, and I guess I got into like contemplation mode when he told me that, because I started making wheels turn at that point. So it was strong for me though to hear that, because it was for him too, because I looked up to him when I was growing up. Maybe I needed to, I guess I needed to hear that.
I guess you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you for all that shared and talked about a time somebody told you the truth. And I'm going to refrain from breaking this out into small groups. I love to hear from anybody. If anybody just wants to listen in on the conversation, that's great that you're here and listening. But I want you to consider this question and then respond accordingly, and just throw your 2 cents in. What is truth? I like Rufus's reaction. He just sat back and went, whoa. What is truth? Anybody care to share what you're thinking? Brian. You're still muted though. The truth is you're still muted.
The truth is that I struggle with unmuting myself. I just looked up the definition of truth, and they always say you shouldn't define a word by using a form of the word. And every definition I saw for truth contained the word true. So I think a lot of people struggle with what truth is. You know, the only thing I can say is, you know, reality. But even that, two people's reality may be completely different. So, you know, truth is a tough one.
Yes, Jairus.
Hello, everybody. I'm from the Alliance for Positive Change. I didn't answer the question that you asked earlier, but I feel like it kind of ties in. Part of my issue was always being able to accept people's truths about me. And I found myself in a space where I would surround myself by people who I thought saw me the same way that I saw myself. And it became very hard to hear someone share a truth about me that didn't align with how I saw myself. It was easier to find people who were using or were in a space where they felt I was a good person, or they liked who I was, versus a person who had a truth about me that was hard for me to stomach. So for me, truth really boils down to the eyes of the beholder, how that person views you in whatever walk of life you come across them in, whether it be a professional one, whether it be one where we're just crossing paths on the train, or even walking by each other outside. The truth of how someone experiences me has always been an issue for me. I'm 6'7". I'm a very tall guy, and trying not to seem like an intimidating person or a person who anybody has a reason to be afraid of. That has always been one of my fears. I live in a bubble of how can I not be threatening? That's one of the fears that I have, and it's a truth that it's been hard to admit, but over the past couple of years, it's been a little bit easier to accept that, you know, people may not always view me the way that I want to be viewed or accept what I believe my truth is, and being able to be open and maybe not to take what they're saying, but being able to respect somebody else's truth about me.
Great. Thank you, Jairus. Appreciate that. Robin, what is truth?
Well, I did what Brian did. I actually looked it up just to make sure, because I'm old school. You tell us to we were taught, look up the word. We always think we know something, and that
Mhm.
I came from the school I know, so that was the truth. The truth was I didn't know as much as I thought.
Mhm.
And so what I learned is that according to the Wikipedia, is that truth is the property of being in accord with fact or reality. In everyday language, truth is typically ascribed to things that aim to represent reality or otherwise correspond to it, such as beliefs, propositions, and declarative sentences. Truth is usually held to be the opposite of falsehood. And
So
you know,
that came from Wikipedia.
yeah.
So is Wikipedia true? That's just a question. Never mind.
Well, what I'm saying is my recovery tells me everything is subject to revision. What's true for me right now may not be true once I get off the Zoom.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
There's so many caveats to what truth is. And just like the gentleman before me, I cannot change. And I think another woman who talked about her reality, about how other people perceive me. Because a lot
Hmm.
of people have a misconception of me because they don't get an opportunity to get in my inner circles to know what a kind person I am, or whatever my um, attributes are.
Hmm.
They only see the outside, and the outside is normally protecting me from what I think might hinder me in your presence. So
Gotcha.
that's the truth. So
Gotcha.
truth is always evolving for me.
All right. Rich, what is truth?
I gotta kind of keep it simple for me. Truth is like I have to say, I have to go spiritually with it, because is to me is like God, and God being my conscious and my intuition, because you can't lie to yourself. Like, you could try to like sell your brain to lie to the other brain, but the feeling that you have inside is like your consciousness, your intuition, your spirit. Like, you can't lie to that. That tells the truth. Like, that's truth for me.
Okay. What is truth? What is it? Khalees?
My mind is blown, because now that we can question everything, let's be honest, we can really, and then I was just thinking, I've been watching a bunch of lawyer shows, so it's like the evidence they give us is not really the truth, and if we only have what they give us, then is that the truth? And you can really question anything and everything. I think it's a personal thing. I mean,
Mhm.
and somebody mentioned evidence in the chat, and like, okay, if I have a past record of getting a bunch of DWIs and being in and out of jail all the time, like that's there's videotapes, unfortunately they showed them to my mom, like that show there's proof, there's evidence, like that's real, that's reality, that's the truth with that. And so I kind of think there is some evidence in that. But whenever I think about my own personal experiences on a personal level, it's unique to me what my truth is, and like my beliefs and my values, and what I feel is something, like I said in the chat, like my truth can be completely different to yours. That doesn't mean that it's not true. It's unique.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, well, if something is true, isn't it true for everyone? How could it be true for one person and false for another?
Okay,
Give me an example.
So my, if it is true that I love, let's say, chicken wings. We were just talking about this. I love chicken wings. That's true.
Okay.
It is, but that doesn't mean that it's true for everybody else.
That's true, but is that truth?
Truth.
So
Well,
how do you?
The truth is you just added an H to the word. You just changed a couple letters at the end of the word
all right.
true.
So let me ask you another question then. How do you know something is true?
My gut. I'm a vibe person. I'm a vibe person. I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it.
So your gut. So when you say gut, what do you mean?
You know what? I'll tell you something. Whenever I was in early recovery, I used to be really conniving, and manipulative, and sneaky, bad habits, and whenever I got into early recovery, I told myself, if I can't tell my mom about it, I'm probably not doing something I shouldn't be doing. And for the first year, 2 years, that was my sense check. If I can't tell my mom about it, I'm probably doing something I shouldn't be doing. And now it's knowing it's a vibe. You can tell whenever I'm not living my truth, I feel uncomfortable. And I think too, talking into that, like I'm in a phase right now in my life where I'm really learning what my core values are and my beliefs and getting aligned with those. And, we talk about relationships based on love versus need and things like that. Like I'm really finding clarity in that, where now whenever something comes up, it doesn't feel comfortable because I don't align with that. That's not my truth. That's not.
Oh,
Is that
I love
kind of
that.
answer? Does that help?
It does. No, it does. It helps a lot. How do you know something is true? That's a question for any of you. You all said I said, describe a time where somebody spoke the truth to you. How did you know it was the truth?
That inner mirror work,
Yeah.
like Michael said, took a look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Jairus, how'd you know it was true?
I'm gonna say it was true, or the truth. Partially because one, I think we are always our worst critics. We always believe the worst things about ourselves. And it took someone from the outside looking in to give me a survey of what they saw. It didn't align with what I saw for myself, because I know my own habits. But when a person can see me outside of myself, doing something and moving in a certain way, and they commend me for something, or take a notice to the change in me, that is the truth of what they're seeing. And I may not see it because I'm with myself every day. I think of it the same way as, if you're working out or you're losing weight, you see yourself every day in the mirror. So you may not see the changes. And that person who sees you at, a month interval may say, oh, wow, you slimmed down, or, oh, wow, your skin looks better, where I may not be able to see those day-to-day changes because I'm always with myself and I'm being harder on myself probably than anybody else is. So I think part of that truth comes from that outside source looking in.
Gotcha. Thank you. Brian, how do you know what someone's telling you is the truth or is true?
Well, I know for me, when it hits the spirit, I mean, it's no denying when it, that moment of clarity that comes, I mean, in that feeling in the chest, whether that like breaks through that denial, like if it was in the situation that I described in the introduction, right? There was no turning back from that. You know what I mean? There was no, it was real, right? And I could feel it. I could feel it in my spirit. So, that's when I know that, whatever my thought or my process is around it, that I can feel the truth. I can feel it.
You can feel it. Okay. We're all here for recovery coach performance support. At least, this is coaching for coaches. And one of the roles of a recovery coach is what? Correct. Truth teller. How do you know when you're telling the truth? Michelle.
So, for me, the truth is, like the absence of any doubt, right? And I agree with Brian wholeheartedly. I feel when I'm being told the truth, and I feel when I'm being lied to. And it's two different feelings in my gut. One is like danger, Will Robinson, and the other one is like, yeah, right. I get it. I see Tori laughing. She must be old enough to remember, right?
I do
'cause-
too.
Yeah, I know you. But someone once told me, and you know, the truth is the most loving yet the hardest thing you can do for somebody or say to somebody. You know, sometimes people don't like to hear the truth. You know, I don't always like to hear the truth. As I've grown in my recovery, thank God, I'm able to accept the truth a little bit with a little bit more finesse than I used to. I don't know. Sometimes I think the truth is tied into ego. And now that you've raised that question, I want to look into it a little more. Kind of like the "Can you love yourself?" question, which
All right.
Thanks, Phil. It keeps me
You're
up at night.
welcome.
But yeah, I mean, you know, the kindest and most loving thing you can do for somebody, and the most hurtful at the same time. I don't know. You know, I feel it when someone's telling me the truth.
Well,
A genuine thought, you know.
yeah, and I think you said something that really helped me. And you said it so casually. You just said truth is like absence of any doubt, right? I mean, wow, that was pretty good. I'm like, that's the one that's going to send me like down a trail. Absence of any doubt. And how do I know that? So thank you for that, Michelle. Nate, what's up?
Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Listen, it's the first thing that popped in my head. Not the first thing, a couple things popped in as the conversation started to move around the truth. I have to, not you guys, but I have to consider the cultural perspective of the individual that we're talking truth about, because a lot of times your truth, my truth may not be the same. And you know, it's from a perspective of a recovery coach, my role is to meet that person where they are. And where they are may be, you know, from my truth, what it was when I first got clean 31 years ago is entirely different than what my truth was. What it was 31 years ago is different today. You know, as I've grown and learned. And so, you know, from a perspective of a coach, when I'm working with people and I'm talking to them about their truth and where they are, and my job is to be neutral, like the young lady said prior to me speaking. It's like it's really not me that's imposing my truth on that person, because that's really what I'm doing. So, I mean, it's a deep question. It's simple, but it's deep. Phil, all the implications that you can consider around that one word: cultural, from an age perspective, from a race perspective, from a geographical perspective. So all those things are considerations when you talk about the truth. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else in the role of truth teller? Come on now. Thank you, Khalees.
I kind of went down a little spiral as I do. And I was just thinking, how can I, as a recovery coach, tell the truth to those I support if I myself am not willing to accept hard truths and be honest within myself? I don't know if that's because I was just thinking I couldn't support people and be honest and try and tell the truth, be a truth teller in my role as a recovery coach, if I can't be true to myself, and if I can't be and accept hard truths, you know. And I think that's what makes I'm able to do that today, is because I've had people tell me hard truths, you know, and I can remember how those felt and the impact those have made on my life. So seeing the value in my own personal experiences of hard truths, that I'm able to tell people the truth.
Yeah, so the one assumption I would just challenge you a little bit on is the word. It's
The
that
word hard. Is
Is
this word? I know. Okay, a difficult truth was
why
told
is the
to me.
why is the truth hard, or why is the truth difficult? And I'll just leave it at that. So why did you frame it that way?
Oh, why did I frame it that way?
Yeah.
So literally the truth I was thinking about when I framed it that way was me being again, okay, I moved to England, like 90 days in recovery, moved to countries, fresh meat, hello, off the border, whatever, and managing life. And I'd never, being in a home with my child, and everything was chaotic, and I just wanted things to be better. And I'll never forget coming home to my mom one day, and I cried, and I was like, I just want to see better. And she was like, when something changes within you, something else will change. Something has to change within you for us to be better. And I just was like, I'll never forget walking out of that room and just being like, what can I do to make things better? And just because I wanted a better relationship with my mom, I wanted to be happier. I just moved countries, but like, that was hard. That was really hard for me to accept, because I was perfect, in my mind at that time. Like, there was nothing wrong with me, but like,
Well,
just the fact of
we could
being
explore
told
that.
you need to change.
You
No,
could
but
ex-
like,
Yeah, but is that so? The role of truth teller is one of the 10, 11 roles if you add storyteller.
yeah.
Truth teller is in there. So think about that. And is that hard for you to do? And you don't have to answer that now, but is it hard for you to express the truth? I work with Jolie for the last 21 years or so, and we all remark that she is honest, tells the truth. She is firm with the truth, but she is incredibly kind. And that has been a life lesson for me, that how those two go together so well within her, that she can be kind and firm at the same time. Even though you don't like to hear it, she's still kind and she's still firm, but that doesn't have anything to do with her. It's the way that's just the way she delivers those things. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Love to hear from you.
Exactly. I've heard you say it many times. Truth without compassion is cruel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as a truth teller, we have to remember that the way we're delivering the truth is very important.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So when you think of all the roles, and you guys have all, I see several people here have been coaching for a while. How often, maybe it's even a percentage of the time, maybe that's getting a little nitpicky, but how often do you find yourself, like your intuition goes off and says, I got to tell this person the truth? How often does that happen, where you're telling, like treating the person like an object, not a resource? It does happen, but how often does it happen? This is where one of you raises your hand and throws out an answer and makes yourself a little bit vulnerable, maybe. Cindy, go ahead.
So it happens to me in my head. Oh, I want to go. I know what you should do.
Right, exactly. That's good.
All the time, all the time, and and I have to really, really work hard at, my oars, like just, reflecting really what they're saying, helping them see the difference between, their values, their goals, what's important to them, and their behavior, and trying to help them see that discrepancy. But oh gosh, I want to shortcut it every day. I want to just go, yeah, right here. This is what you need to do. Yeah, all the time.
Has there ever been a time where you actually did that?
Oh, yes, of course.
And was it effective?
So I would say that I would use what Brian just said, that the truth without compassion is cruel. There are times that, I have to say this level of care, right, is not appropriate anymore.
Right.
And people often want to go to recovery coaches or, you know, sober living or whatever, because it seems like the least worst alternative to, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I have to say the truth, you know, I ethically, you know, cannot do this, right? And be helping you. And
So-
so it is hard, but I do try to frame it and approach, you know, everything with everyone with just love, you know, this is, and I always try to come back to, you know, not, you know, it may not be now, you know, down the road, we can work towards this, right?
Well, so what you're illustrating for me is that there are times, and I know you to be very kind, loving, gentle, and warm, that if you did get a little animated and felt strongly that you had to tell me the truth, you would definitely have my attention. So I think that's it. What I'm trying to get into, when we use the truth to inform how we might ask a question or to inform somebody of what you're seeing or observing, that ties into your art of recovery coaching. You know, we might see that as like telling the truth is, if we're going to reach into our tool belt, the telling the truth is the hammer, you know, and your recovery just turned into a nail, and I got to whack him on top of the head sometimes to shake him. But that's not the tool we use all the time. So what I'm trying to get at is, how often do you pull out the hammer of telling people the truth? Richie.
Yeah, you kind of said what I was gonna say, but
Yeah.
I definitely I have to say that's definitely part of my art, is being a truth teller. Like Nate has said, you know, depending on culture and things like and geographically, like the recovery itself, like working with the Department of Corrections individuals as myself and previously, like sometimes people just need it raw.
Yeah.
And it's effective. I know I mean, I've seen it be effective. I like to, like, sometimes I'll go about, you know, so how, you know, how did that play out for you, this and that, but sometimes people just need it straightforward, this and that, and they respect it more like that. And it resonates with them more personable sometimes.
Right. And no, there's not a book to tell you when to pull that out or to be a little more firm or raw with somebody. It's just your art of coaching, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rufus.
For me, I would say maybe use the hammer of honesty when it's really getting to like crisis time, like when like, say for example, I've been working with recovery now for like, say, 6 months, and there's been like maybe a little bit of change but not enough change, and they're still doing the same thing, and I can see that they haven't got long if they carry on doing what they're doing. Then maybe I might like use the hammer of truth, but only when it's like really dire and I've exhausted all other roads, maybe.
It's also, I think anytime you're with people, you're kind of assessing your relationship and the conversation. And you would definitely say, I might say something like, would you be open to me sharing my truth of what I see in this situation? You could even say something like, you might not like it, or it might be difficult, not hard for you to hear. But this is what I see. This is how I feel. This is what I'm thinking. This is the way I understand. This is my truth that I'm experiencing right now. And I think it might benefit you to hear this. Yeah, Michelle, piggyback on that.
Boy, am I glad you said that, because right now I'm in a situation, I won't go into it deeply, but a young woman that I met when she was in prison over 10 years ago, and she became not a coach, a recovery to me, but a very good friend. And you know, she, one of my girls, you know, they have a crew of like 5 girls that have gotten clean and sober and started to live, and I see a huge amount of regression in her, doing things at 10 years sober that are just not appropriate at 10 years sober, and putting yourself into potentially dangerous situations, maybe losing her children, so on and so forth. And I made the decision last night that I was going to sit and talk to her. And
Mhm.
all I've been thinking about is how do I open up that conversation, you
Mhm.
know? And thank you, because you just gave it to me.
No, good.
Would you be open to hearing what I'm seeing, what I'm
Mhm.
feeling? Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Tori.
So thank you. After hearing you mention the art,
Mhm.
it's actually something I wanted to bring up that came up recently. Working within the DOC, I'm not necessarily coaching individuals. I'm their coach advisor, yes, but I'm setting up the programs and your wonderful curriculum throughout the
Mhm.
DOC.
Mhm.
So recently, we had a group of individuals sign up to take the class, and they did a wonderful job in class. And then after the fact, I noticed that they weren't really utilizing the coaching skills. In this case, it was for something to gain a little bit more benefits in other areas.
Mhm.
And so I needed to figure out a way to cautiously approach that. And they were creating flyers and they were making booklets, but they really didn't have any connections or any of the coaching skills to sit with people. So in a creative way, I addressed it as you guys are just really nailing the art of coaching, but we're forgetting about the science of coaching. You're creating this wonderful world with all these different documents for coaching that you want to hand out to invite people to these sessions and setting up in your facilities, which is wonderful. And so because I utilize the word art in that form instead, it made them a little bit more attentive because I gave them the positive before saying, okay, we
Mhm.
really need to bring this in. And after a while, they started really getting interested in more of the personal connections with coaching. And so it was just a creative way to kind of go around the situation and rein them back in, I guess.
Well, so that was your art of coaching.
Yeah, I guess you could say so.
Oh,
at that
definitely.
moment.
That you that you saw a correction and you just coached them into that direction. So well done. That's a great example. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we also have a couple people here. Do you know Richie and Brian, right? They're both very involved in the DOC here in Connecticut.
Thank
Raise your
you.
hands, Richie and Brian, the DOC people. See, there's our CCAR folks. Robin, what you got, Robin? Miss Robin?
Wait a minute. I have
You're
to,
good.
I have to master the art of unmuting.
Well, that's okay.
It makes me think when I work with people and having to be a truth sayer in
Mhm.
their lives, one of the things when I first meet with them is telling them who I am as an individual and my style as not to be offensive because
Mm.
I can be abrasive. You know what I mean? I'm just like I'm not that kumbaya woman. I'm not that person that do that, but I do all the good stuff. I do a lot of heavy lifting. And so because I learned this about I had to learn it first in
Mhm.
order to make a change about it. And you know what we say, some people say when the pain of remaining the same outweigh the pleasure of change, then we do something. And I
Mhm.
use that a lot when I see people going taking a turn for not the better. And I also say, do you remember when we first met and I was telling you who I am as a person, and here I am. What I always want is the best for you. That's my role in your life is to be the best person I can be to help you navigate these systems. And when they say, "Yeah, I remember that," I said, "So this is the deal. This is what's happening, or what I'm seeing, because you already said that you would hear me, even if it doesn't come out right. Because I don't want you being offended. I just want you to hear something I'm saying. So you could take a look at it. You don't have to do nothing with it, but at least you
Mhm.
know." And I had said in the chat, when we knowing the truth is something, and someone else said it's spiritual, but it's that conscious contact that you have with yourself when somebody tap into your conscious about a truth that's going on with you. So I kind of set people up from the door that I've just not heard that kumbaya. If you need somebody to do the teddy bear thing, You might not have me, but I am here to help you to the best of my ability. And this is one of my shortcomings. It's a defect, but I'm here for you. So that's how I get around being harsh. Sorry.
Oh, no, that I
Not
love that.
sorry.
No, thank you for sharing. That's very helpful. When I think about telling the truth, would you say it takes courage sometimes to tell the truth?
Absolutely.
And so what are we afraid of? Because courage means going on in the face of fear, or what is it we're worried about when we tell somebody the truth? And Robin, you touched on that with saying they might be offended. What else might happen? Rich.
I hurt somebody.
Hurt somebody. Okay.
That's it.
Like physically or emotionally or
No, like hurt
mentally?
their feelings emotionally, like, discourage them and from change, discourage them from
Oh, so
how they
hurt them.
loving themselves. It could do a lot of times.
Okay. Michelle.
Rejection.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I hadn't thought of that. That's true. Rodney.
As a coach, I'm always the fear that comes in is the disconnect.
Oh, that we might disconnect from the person. Okay. Nate.
You're
Nate,
muted.
Nate, are you?
As hard as I've worked on my character defect of people pleasing, I think I still have some elements of that left in me. So my people pleasing, want everybody to like me and not want to hurt feelings, I think is one of the things that operates when it comes to telling the truth and being honest with people.
That's really got me thinking. I think I saw Michael or somebody put in the truth will set you free, right? How many people have heard that?
Right. Yeah.
So what does that mean? Yeah, Rufus, go ahead.
I think it just means that when you're lying, it's like you're running, and it's like those lies. It's like they call it a web of lies, don't they? It's almost like you can make your own trap out of the lies, and that you're constantly trying to figure out how to manipulate, how to get out of the situation. But once you're just honest, and you don't know what the consequences will be, but at least that trap, you're out of the trap. The chain's been broken, and you're free. Free from the deceit, free from the pain, and there's like a new pain, but it's a better pain because it's an honest pain, and there's something to work with. It's like there's hope somewhere.
I like that analogy. Thank you, Michael.
I like that. Khalees was saying too about the weight lifted, and I feel like that too. Is like when you're holding something, when you're holding the truth on something, next thing you know, is weighing you down, and that weight is just like all these feelings that come up, right? And you can even get like sick as far as like stomach pains, and you just feeling it, right? And then all of a sudden when you do, you be like, damn, that wasn't even that bad. And you just like let it go. Now you ain't got to deal with it anymore. It's out there. It's out in the open. Now you're free from it. Like the first time I had a discussion with my dad, and I told him I had an addiction problem. And he knew, but I never had that discussion with him. I was never truthful to him, and just to let him know. And the minute I did, it felt like this weight just got off me. And now I'm able to just have any type of discussion with him, because he knows now. He knows what I've been through. He knows what the feelings I had. Now I can just be free.
Thank you, Michael. Rodney.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I was right along those lines. To me, it helps you, relieves you from the burden of falsehood, and relinquishes the control of me trying to manipulate the situation to my end, and I'm not in control. If I bear or if I present the truth, I'm not necessarily in control of the outcome of it, but it relieves me of the burden of trying to fix, manage, and control everything about it.
Thank you, Rodney. Khalees.
I was just gonna say too, like I was just thinking I told a truth recently, and in my active addiction, keeping secrets and lying and manipulating and holding all that in was part of my lifestyle, where now it's like I feel sick. Like I can physically feel sick whenever I am not being honest or whenever I'm not disclosing something that I should probably be talking to somebody about. And it doesn't make me feel good. And I feel like I'm walking around on eggshells. I can't focus. I can't be in the present moment because I'm too worried about what's going on and what's in my head and all this other stuff inside, because it's, yeah, that's my experience.
So when you say you recently revealed a recent truth, was that to a recovery or about yourself, about something that was going on?
Oh, that was to my mom about something that was going on.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Bobby, did you want to jump in? Did you have your hand raised? Did you want to talk about something about telling the truth? But you have to unmute yourself, my man.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can, perfect.
Yeah, so when you said that, I was thinking about, for me, like if I'm able to accept the truth, right, with whatever's going on with me or around me, then I'm able to free myself and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
If I continue to stay in the lie, then I'm stuck, and there's no room for growth or to even get better. You know what I mean, or find a solution.
Gotcha. Thanks, Bobby. Jairus.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention sometimes it can be really uncomfortable just because I think, at least in my situation, telling the truth and how I thought it was going to make me feel better when I got a negative response from family members kind of made me want to go back into my shell, but I tried to tell myself it's okay because I'm living in my truth. What actually helped me was one of my nieces reaching out to me and feeling comfortable enough to speak with me. When my focus was on, my mother and my sister, people who I looked up to in my family, and I was looking for a certain amount of, maybe not I understand, but I hear you and I see you from them, which I didn't get. But, my nieces were able to see me in a different light. And that allowed us to have a certain type of connection in a certain place where they came to me and spoke truths to me in the same way that I spoke that to the family. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Cindy.
Hi there. In my experience personally, I lie when I'm not ready to let go of something. I'm protecting it. And I need to feel safe in order to be truthful and to tell the truth, which is something that has been born out of my recovery, but it is also just sort of in there all the time, that tendency to make it sound better than it is, or, it's always, I'm always, I think, trying to take care of myself. And I feel freer when I tell the truth, because that to me means I do feel safe. I'm in a place where I can safely do that.
Thank you. I see you, Waterbury Recovery Community Center. Just wanted to wave to you. I see you guys. Thanks for jumping in. Mindy, you want to jump in the conversation? Good to hear from you.
Hey, so, I was sitting here and I was thinking about like when were the times that I didn't tell the truth, right? And that I didn't tell the truth was I was trying to protect my ego and my pride, right? And I wanted to look good in this light. and not really understanding that I can be my authentic self. And when I tell the truth, I'm open for help. Like, people can help me get to that place of where I wanted to be, but I wanted to show them that I was already there when I wasn't. So, I was portraying this thing and really just harming myself. So when I let go and was truthful, I was able to let my guard down and become a little more vulnerable for people to be able to help me. Because I'm always the one that's always helping others and I got this, got it together. And no, I need help too. So, I was able to free myself and be able to receive the help in order to get me to where I want to be, like reality. I'm sitting in fantasy, and get me back to reality, snap back and help me get to the next plateau. I just want to share that.
So we talked a lot, and I feel safe with this group. So I'm going to go into a little bit of next level stuff, which I'm not quite sure how it's going to go over. But people that work with me know about that all the time. So we're talking about what is true for us, right? As a truth teller, right? We know what's true for us, that it resonates in our soul, our spirit. We talked about intuition. We talked about courage to say it. We talked about how we might approach somebody with our truth. As a recovery coach, has anybody ever sat with somebody and you knew that same intuition, what the person you were working with, you knew their truth as well? I mean, I could use my wife, Sandy, as an example, but she knows my truth and I know her truth sometimes. I mean, we were just talking about somebody not getting their way the other day, and we hit that spot on, right? It's because that was the other person's truth. And that's gets a little, I don't want to know if dangerous is the right word, but it could, if you develop where you get very intuitive about the other person. And Cindy, I'm looking at you because I think you're just masterful at intuition and knowing the people you work with. Cindy, have you ever had the time where you knew the other person's truth?
Before they do?
Yeah,
What you're
sometimes.
asking?
Yeah, maybe that's a good way to frame it. Yeah.
No, yeah, I know the truth in light of my lived experience. I know they're right. And so, I've been there, done there, got that t-shirt already, I know, right? But I don't know that I can ever know their truth. Though I have a lot of empathy, I have not been in their shoes. I wasn't raised by their parents. I didn't drink as much vodka, or I drank something else, whatever it was, so I really try to, I really, and I've learned that here, just try to be a really good listener and ask good questions, because as much as I may know it, I know I don't know their truth.
Well, and I might push back on that, because if it aligns with there's been many times when I've been coaching people where I believe to be their truth would eventually come out, and it aligned with what I was thinking exactly, or feeling. I think it's almost more intuitive. It's almost like a energy exchange of some kind, that the energies kind of align, that you get on the same wavelength or circuit or currency. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's just everything seems to align. And so I think that's beautiful when that happens, but it's also my caution is that you can't let your ego run rampant over that, thinking I know better, I know your truth. So you said that very humbly, and I appreciate that. Deborah.
So I'm going to agree. I don't assume that I can know somebody's truth or recovery's truth.
Mm-hmm.
I can deeply emphasize, I can be very, very empathetic to their situation. I can try to put myself in their shoes. And when being a truth teller and working with recovery, I believe that if the recovery presents like they might not be able to handle a certain measure of truth or what I call the truth, and I think it might spin them out,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna temper what I say because they're the most important person. And just because it's, without compassion, brutal honesty without compassion is cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have a responsibility in measuring what I say. I think you have to measure what you say to people, because just because I can handle the brutal honesty and all that, that doesn't mean other people. One of the things I like about recovery coaching is like, I really need to know what my stuff is. I need to
Yeah.
know what, right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do I need to tell them the truth right now?
Exactly.
Like, why do I need to tell them right now? Maybe this might need to wait. Let them get some solid foundation under their feet first before you deliver that.
I love
At
that.
the same time,
Yeah.
it's a straddle. It's a straddle of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a straddle of the fence. You got to really have that balance of being able to take care of your recovery and deliver what they can handle in the given moment and what they present to you.
The art of
That's
coaching.
just what I think.
Yeah, that's the art of coaching.
Yeah.
When you were talking, I see Jack Nicholson on the stand going, "You can't handle the truth." I got a recovery coach going, "You can't handle the truth, so I'm not going to tell you. You can't handle it." Nate, what's up?
Okay, I keep forgetting to unmute. What keeps resonating for me is the art of listening. I think even though I feel you, I think the young people, that's their terminology. I feel you. I can feel the person I'm working with. I'm connected to them energetically, emotionally, and I don't have to say that to them. I don't have, because sometimes that can be overwhelming to them and have them push them in. I get what you're saying, Phil. It could be dangerous. It can cause all kind of other problems. And so, for me, I think it's a gift to be able to connect to people on a deep level and feel where they are, and understanding that it's a gift. It's not to be used or taken to back in the day when I was in the streets, in the game, hustling. That was my gift to use to take advantage of when I was a predator. It was a negative thing, but in recovery, it's a gift to use to help for good. So, yeah, I feel people all the time. So,
yeah, great.
Yeah,
Thank you, Nate.
but it can be something negative as well.
Mm-hmm. Waterbury.
Hey, you can speak. How y'all doing? I'm Al, and I'm a volunteer at the CCAR. Yeah, so it's funny that you would say that with Jack Nicholson, because as I'm listening to everyone speak, and it's true, like some people can't handle the truth, you know? And speaking in that term, I was like one of them. You could say I was one of them back then. I couldn't handle the truth, you know, though I knew the truth, but I just didn't want to accept it at the time, you know? Being under the influence, you ain't trying to hear nothing. Understand what I'm saying? So like, yeah, you know, and now now that I'm with C card and everything, and it's different now. You know, I can handle it now. So whatever comes my way, it is what it is. I'm taking it, but I'm gonna use that as a stepping stone to learn and move forward in life.
Hey, Al. Hey, Al, I want to tell you the truth. You think you can handle it?
Yes.
All
Yes, I
right. This is my truth to you. I am so glad and proud of you that you're sitting in that chair right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Continue doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you. Rich.
Yes, what comes to my mind is, like you said, can you know someone else's truth, right? Can you like
Yeah.
align with them and know their truth, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's I know that through my experience, I can say that it's possible. I've experienced that with knowing their truth, because I could, at times I've been able to read an individual and know that, okay, they signed up for recovery coaching because, you know, they want housing and they don't have a drug, you know, they don't use substances, they say this and that. But if I've coached them through the process of transitioning back into the community, we find out that there is substances involved, there is more involved. So it's there, the truth comes to the light, right? As long as you're there to support them through the process, but they don't feel that there is you know, that they don't have a substance problem. But I feel that through the history, knowing the history through the conversation, that there is more to the truth.
Thank you, Richie. So that's the end of our 90 minutes about coaching for coaches and telling the truth. Again, I learned so much. I am so grateful for all your input. So the next time you're out there coaching with somebody, and just think about it a little more about what is this role of truth teller? And if we're a trainer and we're practicing the art of recovery coaching, where does truth come in? And there's one more question I'll leave you with. What do you do if your recovery is not telling the truth? Oh, so maybe we'll just talk about that. Do you do anything? Do you have to do anything? I don't know. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. You guys over in the UK, it's about bedtime, isn't it? Pretty soon. So thank you for staying up late. We appreciate you coming in and sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us very much. Blessings to you all. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.